All right, all set. Welcome to the Aim to Win podcast.
And welcome to Diamond Effect podcast.
So today we're doing something very experimental. We're going to do a joint podcast so that both of our audiences can hear the important message today. And so I think a great way to really get started is if I introduce myself so that everybody knows who's talking to them. And I've been a business coach for a little over 8 years now. And prior to that, I had a long career as a corporate executive. And what I really do as a business coach is I work with small business owners small business owners and corporate leaders to really grow their businesses and to do it in a way that's profitable and while keeping their sanity. And so it's been a very rewarding time. And just really my passion is helping people, helping organizations, and helping leaders be all they can be.
Yeah, that's awesome, Wade, because that's like we're so similar in this way. And I think that's why we're connected so well. And we decided to do the podcast. So my name is Maggie Perotin. I'm a business coach as well. I'm based in Canada, and I work mostly with small business owners, service-based business owners, to help them grow their business. And just like you, Wade, I really believe that that can be done very strategically in a sane way without overwhelm, while you as a business owner become a great leader in the process.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So
let's get started and maybe share our stories a little bit, because we're both from corporate, right? You were a corporate executive. I was a corporate leader for many, many years. And somehow our careers got us into coaching. So maybe you start and in a Reader's Digest version, share your story, and then I'll share mine, and then we'll get to our topic.
Perfect. So, I like I said earlier, I had a long career in corporate. I started off in the human resources field and really spent my time, about 20 years or so as a coach, as a leader of the talent function, very heavily focused on leadership development, growth, but also business strategy. And I worked for very large organizations. I finished my career as a chief human resource officer of a large public company. And one of the things that I learned through that process is, large companies have really dialed in a lot of different things. And a lot of those things are something that's accessible to small businesses as well.
Yeah.
By the same token, small businesses, and I had a chance to work with quite a few of those in my corporate experience, especially with acquisitions and mergers. And they brought a lot of things to the table as well, from both a leadership and a business perspective, that large companies could benefit from. And so I had the opportunity to start my own practice about 8 years ago, and really just kind of tie those things together and help businesses and leaders just be better and really work for my passion. And so that's kind of what brings me here today. And so how about your story?
That's awesome. So my story, I've been an operational leader for many, many years, and I've touched business from many perspectives. So I did project management, and it went from like construction project to IT projects and like process improvement project. I've done operational excellence and service delivery. I've done a little bit of business strategy and business development and so on. But throughout that, just like you, I was a leader. And for me, just like for you, leading is really coaching, right? When you are a leader who wants to elevate your team members and you want them to succeed in business, not just in a position that they're in, but the positions further, you become a coach. That's who you are. And that's how I developed or discovered my passion for coaching. And my story is I did burn out at some point in my career. That got me also thinking. I did get out of the burnout. I went through some high performance coaching myself, and sort of that, opened my eyes to what high performance can bring to us as humans, not just leaders, but humans. That's why I'm so passionate about it, and teach my clients that too. But that sort of made me think, okay, well, do you really want to continue in the corporate career? And my answer was not for the long term. I still stayed after I got out of burnout coaching, I stayed in my corporate career for a few years, but ultimately I wanted to do something else. So then my passion for coaching and passion for business, because I think it's fun, it's creative, it's strategic, kind of led me to business coaching, because I thought, just like you, there's so much that especially small business owners can benefit from when you bring what corporations are doing well and merge it with what small businesses are doing well and kind of do like that in a strategic way. It can really propel small business owners much faster and much better. So, yeah.
Excellent. So what have you found to be one of the biggest things that really gets into the business owner's way? What gets in their way?
What gets in their way? Many things. And depends, you know what? It depends also where they are on their journey, whether they're brand new, whether they're more established, and so on. I would say the first thing, and maybe like if we want to say overarching, is that, at least in my experience, it's lack of business skill or certain gaps in business skill that are not giving them a perspective that they could have if they had those knowledge and the skill, right? So like, for example, in the beginning, it could be marketing and sales, right? So again, I work with service providers, and if they think that they usually start the business because they're passionate about the service that they offer, right? So let's say a therapist or whatever service it is, right? Contractor or whatever. And they are great at delivering that service, but then they're realizing, oh, business is also about finding client. I got to get the client first in order to service them. And sometimes I hear, I didn't sign up for it. And I'm like, no, you did. You signed up for it because you started a business. The same way you sign up for changing diapers and sleepless nights when you have a child, right? They're not just cute little babies you look at and love, right? So that is, and that carries through sometimes as they grow, because then the strategy, right? Thinking strategically might be lacking, or people skills and so on. So that would be one of the things. And then there are some others, but like one of the things that not filling the gaps in the business skills as your business grows sometimes gets people stuck. But what about you? Like, what are some other things that you've noticed?
I think a big one is outside perspective, the lack of outside perspective, because what I see happen a lot is they'll start the business, they'll get some traction going, they'll get some sales, they'll get some clients, what have you. And then they really get caught up in the business, in the day-to-day, and they get overwhelmed.
Yes.
And so what happens is they really start losing the joy of the business.
Yes.
And what the outside perspective helps them do is somebody to help them step out and take a look at, how could we do something in this business to kind of bring that joy back, to get you out of the burnout phase.
Yes.
I like to call it the autopilot. An autopilot doesn't really fly the plane. What the autopilot does is it helps the pilot fly the plane by taking a lot of the rudimentary tasks off of them, and allows them to relax a bit and not be constantly on. And I think a lot of times a business owner needs somebody from the outside to help with that process.
Yeah. And you know what? I agree with that, because a business owner, especially small business owners, very often they're alone, right? They don't have that perspective. And we all have blind spots as human beings. Like, that's just normal, right? If you think about big corporations, you have that, right? You have a boss or boss's boss, you have colleagues. Like, there are so many people that potentially, when you have good relationship with them, right, they can offer you that perspective that often a small business owners doesn't, or they might have, but like, I find that sometimes it's not the best perspective, because they're trying to get it from people who are not experts in business and so on, and that can actually sometimes be detrimental too. But yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, and I think another thing that kind of goes along with that is the idea of accountability. And so with a small business owner in particular, there's no boss. But even a corporate executive may not have a leader that's fully engaged in everything they do, right? That's why they have them. So both of those people need somebody to kind of push them and hold them accountable, because usually the high achievers will have a ton of ideas. I
Yes.
see this in a lot of my clients. They'll go through 70, 75 ideas, and 0 of them will get done. There's really nobody at the end of the day holding them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even like just focused, right?
Yeah.
Because then accountability. So I have like this, you might not agree with, with my idea of accountability, but I always tell my clients like, in the beginning, I get it. You're right. Like in the beginning, when business owners who've never had anybody and they have like million ideas and they don't implement, or even if they don't have million ideas, but they don't necessarily follow through with their decisions. So they decide, oh, I would like to do it, but then they don't follow through. They, or at least with my clients, right? They definitely benefit from the weekly goals and accountability. But I always tell my clients, ultimately, my goal is to teach you how to become a person accountable to yourself.
Mhm.
Right. So how to be that person, because think about it, like CEO of Apple, he doesn't need an accountability partner, right? Like they decide and they do it. There's an, whatever decision, there's goals and they go after them, right? So becoming a person that decides on things, has a strategy, and as a coach, that's we can help them, right? Help the strategy, help to make the best decisions possible. And then I decide and I do them, I keep implementing them. And as a coach, me, like I more see myself more as a, like, when you think of pro athletes, they have a coach, like athlete has a goal to win. They don't need a coach to tell them, oh, you got to win, you got to stay on track. What the coach does is help them figure out, okay, what are you doing that you can improve? Where are your moves or your throws or whatever type of athlete you are that maybe you're not executing at the highest level to give you like higher scores or better chances to win the Olympics? And because I have that outside perspective, I'm going to walk with you that journey and I will tell you. And I will tell you right away instead of you realizing that, taking too long to realize it or never realizing that. And we'll work together, we'll start adjusting and so on. But if you think about a pro athlete, coach doesn't hold them accountable to show up for them. Like, I don't think so, right? Like, I don't think there is a, really a professional athlete at the highest level who needs their own coach to show up to the practice and to like guide them. Oh, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I think they do that, but they need that guidance and outside perspective to progress even faster, right? Because in a way, they don't have a lot of time. They have deadlines for the games or competitions or whatever.
Yeah, I think to an extent, I think kind of the idea of stretch plays in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times what a coach can do is help the person. They're doing great and they know what they need to do, to get it done. And as you said, but taking that next step, a lot of times they need that push, or a lot of people don't know how to stretch. They don't know what directions they should grow. And so that's kind of where a coach can come in too, is give them the push, but also help them, know what's out there.
Yeah.
A lot of times, leadership or small business owners both will operate a little bit in a vacuum. They know their business. Maybe they're a little bit broader and they know their industry. But the advantage of having an outside perspective that's worked with multiple industries and multiple companies can really show them what's out there and sort of give them a path with which to stretch and achieve.
Yeah. And I agree that push is needed, especially if you're showing a new path and maybe newer way of doing things or going into, some new strategy, because that's normal. Our brain will be scared of it, right? Anything new, we're scared. So sometimes like a blog is just fear or lack of confidence. Well, I don't know if I can be successful in that, or I don't know if that will work for me, right? So as a coach, we can like help the clients to get them out of that comfort zone and grow and push into the direction that whether we offer or we mutually agree, right? But something new, something that could be way better for them to what they're doing right now. Totally.
Yeah, there's a lot of advantages, and just, and bringing in new ideas
Yes.
and new
Yes.
thoughts. And because, that's the advantage of, there's advantages and disadvantages to, an outside resource. You know,
Mhm.
the disadvantage is they don't know your business as deeply as you do.
Yeah.
Uh, but the
Yeah.
advantage is they know many people's businesses,
Yeah.
at a reasonable level. And so they can really bring in just different ways of doing things and ideas
Yeah.
and, questions. I think that's one of the biggest, most powerful tools for development is the art of the
Mhm.
question, knowing what to ask.
Yes. Yes. And I agree like this because coaching, like I think of coaching as like a power of two great minds, right? Like the business owner and the coach, because the business owner is an expert in their business, right? An expert in their industry and so on. And then the coach has an expertise in business, whatever, people leadership, operations, processes, and all those things, right? That they develop that the business owner maybe hasn't, right? And then when those great minds come together and join the ideas and so on, it's like putting gasoline on the fire. It just then explodes, right? It just goes so much faster. It's simpler. It can be so much easier. And as you say, like then you can get out of overwhelm because you're coming up with the solutions that are simpler to implement, that take less time. I really feel like a lot of business owners, because they don't have a perspective, because they don't see any other way to grow their business, they just add on time, add on working more until they burn out, or if they're seeing because they've been there, oh, I can't go on more because I will do burnout, then they create sort of like this invisible glass ceiling in how much they can grow their business. And for me, the saddest part is when they're like, well, I guess that's what it is. That's the way it must be. So I'll continue. Right. And that's for me the saddest part because it's never that's where it is. I really believe that once you have your own business, like you're limitless in what can you accomplish, how far you can go. But the caveat to that, or the secret is that is to keep growing, to keep developing, right? To keep surrounding yourself with people that can give you perspective, elevate your expertise, and so on and so forth, because your business cannot outgrow you. It cannot outgrow your mind. So,
But that's right. And so a natural cap to the business is how much the leader and the owner develops themselves.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah. Like, again, I'm just going to go to the pro athlete because think about it. Like, if you decided instead of a business to become a pro athlete and say, okay, I want to be a pro, I want to win competitions, and I want to make, my sport my living thing, right? I don't want to have side gigs and doing sports. This is my thing. Like, would you ever consider it doing it alone? Or would you like, I need a coach? Like, I need somebody to help me, right? Like, that's when we think about sports, that just comes naturally. Like, I was even thinking the other day. So, my daughter is in dance, and that's a hobby. Okay. It's like a hobby, but she's at the competitive level. As a parent, I'm paying thousands of dollars every year for her to to be good at hobby, right?
Mhm.
And because I believe there's skills that will help her in life, but this is a hobby and I'm paying thousands of dollars, right? And then so when I think about the business owner who has a business, who is their living, they support their family out of it, why would you not want to be the best possible, right? Why would you not want to have somebody, coach, expert, to help you get better faster? Because when you get better faster, then you benefit from the compounded effect of that, right? If it takes you alone, let's say 3 years to get the business off the ground and get to certain, like some basic income where you can support yourself. And if a coach, you can do it, let's say in a year and a half or two, you have now a whole year to build on what you've built. And that adds, it's really like a compounded interest, right? The more you grow, the faster, the more like that those benefits happen down the line. So
Yeah.
that's
And I think a lot of people just don't look at it that way. They look at it as, yeah, I have to send my daughter to dance because that's a new skill, and so I can't teach him to dance. So I'm going to pay this person that's going to introduce a new skill. But on the business side, you know, most business owners and leaders both, they believe they know their business. But this goes back to what you said earlier, is they may know their business, but not necessarily the business, the art of
Yeah,
business, the science of business.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
The
And
business skills.
skills, right. The business
Yeah.
skills, but also, and also the wide body of knowledge that's out there that they can bring into their business. And that's another thing I hear, I hear a lot is, people just read books and books and books and books. And a lot of my clients, will read a lot of books, and I read a lot of books. I'm sure you do as well. But the trick is a lot of times it's very useful to have somebody from the outside. And I do a lot of this work, help incorporate what they learn from the books or the videos or all those sources of information. How do you incorporate that into your business?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what do you take? What do you not take? What do you prioritize and deprioritize? And it can be really powerful when you start looking at learning that way.
Yeah.
When it comes to learning for application's sake.
Yeah. And that always, because yes, I definitely have clients who overconsume, right? Because I always say like, okay, so there's books, let's say we read for joy, just for hobby, and there's books that we read, let's say, to self-develop and implement. However, overconsumption, like reading books alone, as you say, without implementing, is not going to create any better results. Just because I read something doesn't make me automatically better results. I need to implement, right? And again, our brains are kind of programmed through school that we read a book and we write a test and we get a good grade and our brain thinks, oh yeah, it's a result, but that's not how it works in business. And as you said, knowing what to implement, what to leave out, how to implement, adapt it to your own business. It's a skill, but that skill happens when you have a business skill foundation. If you don't have a foundation, you're not able to discern from those books what would apply to me, what not. It's kind of like, think about it. You've never cooked before, ever. You have no idea what you're cooking, and you're taking a cookbook that just gives you, okay, here is the recipe, but it's not a step-by-step, and it gives you many different options. And you're like, then you're trying to become a great chef. You can't. You have to learn certain basics first. And then you take a cookbook and you're like, okay, now I know. Oh, I don't have this ingredient. I can replace it with this ingredient. And I don't have this. I can replace like with this. Oh, they missed this, but I know what to do. You know what I mean? You can fill in the gaps or make tweaks when you have a certain foundation. So that's why sometimes it's so hard to learn from the books, because that foundation is missing. And then, of course, there's also like, I always say there's like million ways to get to $1 million. So there's many different ways you could grow your business. And all those books sometimes present different ways. Yes. And that can be very overwhelming. And when you try to implement many different ways all at once, that can actually create more chaos in your business than good.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we've kind of been talking about the idea of business books and how that incorporates into the business. But I think one of the more powerful things that I've worked with on a few clients is how do you take in learnings from other aspects of your life? Mm-hmm. So, maybe it's self-help books. Maybe it's therapists. Maybe it's, all kinds of different counselors you might go to or classes you might go to that are not quote unquote business. Mm-hmm. And how do you incorporate those learnings? Because there's a lot of those learnings that fit in the business setting very well.
They do. Yeah. Very true. Very true. And it's like, when I burned out, like learning high performance and some good habits not only helped me get out of the burnout, but it helped me in my corporate role at that time. And then when I started my business, it helped me. So as you say, like there's so many things in self-development space that help you. And I call them really leadership skills because they help you self-lead and have an intentional life and really create your life intentionally. And that always, those skills or those principles always help you in your business. Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just really, the coach is kind of an integrator in a lot of
Yes.
ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so one of the things that I hear all the time though is I don't have time for coaching. Yeah. How do you react to that?
I say those people, it's like with, I don't know if you heard that saying somewhere, the meditation, like if you don't have time, 10 minutes to meditate, that means you need an hour to meditate. Like
Yeah.
the people who don't have time for something, they're the ones that actually need it the most. But coaching saves you time, creates time, and helps you be less busy. So like I always say to my clients, all you need to do is find the hour first, create an hour that we coach, and then the rest I'll help you, right? To create the time. And everybody has an hour in the week because usually like I don't know how you how do you say how you onboard your client, but with me, I always have a free consultation first. So if they come on the consultation, they already created an hour, like they were with me there.
Yep.
Consultation, meaning they have it. And I always say, hey, if you decided to have a puppy out of the blue, and nobody sits there around saying, oh, I have tons of time, I don't know what to do with it. Like our time just gets filled, right? But then we decide, let's say, have a puppy, and then magically we create all the time to take care of the dog. We
Yeah.
walk the dog, we feed the dog, and just like magically we rearrange our life to take care of the dog. So we can create an hour, and I never buy it. I don't have time for coaching. Like you have an hour and I'll help you create even more, because that means if you really think you don't have an hour a week, there is a bigger problem there and you need help with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly it. The power of, an outside person, a business coach, is they can help you see, what's going on. They can help
Yeah.
you. They actually can create time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, time,
Yeah.
time may be a finite resource, but there's ways to reallocate time that indeed creates more.
That's right. That's right. Because it's never about doing it all. It's about doing the most important things. And when you just focus on knowing what they are and focusing, you always have time. Like I truly always tell clients, I teach you how to create time. I don't complain anymore. And I used to be that person. It's like, oh, I'm busy. I don't have time, or I'm busy. Like, I don't know how I'm ever going to find time for this and that. That has stopped with like after I went through that high performance coaching. I always can create time for the things that are important to me, and I always have time. Doesn't mean that I sit around do nothing. My schedule is filled, but it's filled very intentionally only with the important things. And if something comes up that it's important, or I decide that I want to do it, no problem. I'll always create time. And again, it's just a skill. We sometimes like become we believe that that's the way it has to be, or we don't have time, we're busy, and that's the way to go around in the world. And no, there's another way. And as you say, it just takes a different perspective and being open to it and giving it a try.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And,
Yeah.
there's just, the other part of it is, it's not like school.
No.
Where you take a few hours and you learn something that's completely separate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually taking the time to do the coaching, the work that comes out of it is directly related to what you're doing anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's directly related
Yeah.
to what's going to drive your business forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I think,
Yeah.
so it's not that you're looking for incremental time. It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're just creating that hour a week, and then everything else you do, it's not an extra work. It's just shifting those moves as a pro athlete to do what you're doing better, more effectively, more strategically. And through that, not only you grow faster and you make more money, but you actually create time because you become less busy. Trust me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I know we're kind of up against our time.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. So what I want to say is that don't, know that, as one of my clients says, we don't know what we don't know. And opening yourself up for different perspectives might be the best thing you'll ever do for yourself and your business. So what I would always say, because like, do you offer free consultations, Wade, for
Yeah, I
your
do as well.
clients? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So like, all I want to say is, whether it's with Wade or with me or somebody else, go to an expert who offers a free consultation and talk to them. Talk to them about your business, about your challenges and your goals. And even with that, you will gain such a new brand perspective that will make you think in a different direction, a different way. And therefore, you make better decisions for your business, whether you end up saying, yep, I want to coach, or you know what, not now, or whatever your decision is, but you will gain so much from it. So that's my, like, open yourself up to that.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I've had quite a few people that have done a free consultation, and that's all they did.
Yeah.
But move
Yeah.
their business forward just that hour. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I hear that across the board. That hours
Yeah.
on the times they've had.
Yeah.
I think my final thought is, as a small business owner, corporate leader, wherever you are, you don't have to go it alone.
Yes.
A lot of times, it's lonely at the top.
Mm-hmm.
We feel that, and there's so many resources out there, that can just walk alongside you
Mm-hmm.
and help you,
Mm-hmm.
and you really just don't have to go it alone.
No, that's a great thought. And just for, I guess, we'll share our contact information in both of our show notes podcasts. So if you want to talk to Wade, you'll have his website and contact information, and me, it will be the same. So we'll do that. And yeah, thank you for listening. It's been great.
Yep, and we'll have this out on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever it is that you find a good podcast.
Yeah.
And then also, we're going to drop this on our respective YouTube channels, and we'll have link those up in the show notes as well. And we appreciate everybody being on here. And once again, I just encourage you to take a look at the outside perspectives that are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. Bye.
Thanks for listening.